Hello, everybody. My name is Cody Kreiner, and today I wanted to share my story of being not neurodivergent, autistic, and ADHD, and how it's affected me throughout my life. I'm here with my dad. I'll show you him. Let's see if it's not letting me switch, but I'm here with my dad. He's gonna listen in on too. Um, so first of all, I am actually in something called long-term autistic burnout. This affects me every day, and I have been in it for pushing 7 years now, since 2019. And it's really affected me. But as a child in in elementary school, I always knew I was different. I was treated differently. I was bullied every day. I was into different things. I acted different, and I didn't quite understand how they communicated, and I communicated differently. I took things literal, and I just didn't understand. Even when it was time for recess, all I did was sit on this wall, wait for class to go back in so I can go back inside. And yeah, so throughout elementary school, and I didn't know I was neurodivergent until 9 months ago. But as a kid, you know, if I was in burnout, I took it off as just me being sick. And throughout elementary, and there was times I was made to go to school even when I was like this, and I would experience this off and on. I push myself, do too much. I didn't quite mask throughout elementary, but when I hit junior high is when I masked. I went to an entirely different school in a different town. I moved with my dad and stepmom and sister, and I was at a new school. And by the time I was in my last year of elementary is when I started masking and getting good at it. But those kids still bullied me. They knew who I was and didn't like me. So when I went to the new school, I says I'm going to be different, and I would mask, and I got people to like me. I made many friends. And junior high, if I got burnt out, I was allowed to rest when I needed to. Like if I needed to take a day or two, I would. Sometimes I'd need a week. Um, if because I was really putting my mind in overtime. The whole just do it, try harder was really struggling with me. But when I got to high school, I was basically a professional masker at that time, and I struggled my ninth grade year because I was in a high school that just didn't help much. Their motto was just keep trying, just try harder. That's all they told me. They didn't help me where I was struggling or try to one on one with me. It was just try harder. So you can imagine how burnt out I would put myself in every time I kept trying harder because my brain was going at a 200 miles per hour working overtime all the time, and I was really trying. And I was not doing well. But I did pass ninth grade barely. When I got to 10th grade was when we moved to Alaska, and those schools actually one on one, and they put you in the right classes that are suitable for you. So when an IEP meeting came up, that's when they made a decision to work with me, and they did great. By the time I graduated, I had straight A's, one B, but straight A's, and graduated. And I have no idea how I did it with how shitty my memory is and how I struggled to pay attention, but somehow I did it. And after that, I took a summer break, last summer break to kind of party it off with my cousins and family. And I moved back to Utah, and when I started working, I was doing all right. I was doing all right. There was sometimes I had to call in due to burnout, but at the time I chalked it up as just being sick or weak that day, just wasn't up to it. And as the years went by, I moved to many jobs, because ADHD, sometimes you can't deal with the job anymore. And also, I was treated differently in jobs as well, and yeah, I was treated poorly. And by the time in 2019, I had worked at a job as a housekeeper. That was my third year there. Um, the last 3 or 4 months of working there, I had my executive dysfunction had gotten so bad because they say as neurodivergent, your autism and ADHD can get worse. My executive dysfunction had gotten so bad, and that was when I entered long term burnout, autistic. And I didn't know what was happening to me. I was a housekeeper, so I would go into the room and get overwhelmed immediately. I would sit on the couch and just scream at myself in my head. Just do it, get up, get up. Because I was good at it when I first started. I was fast, I did it, I had the energy, and during that time, I have chronic back pain, is when that started getting worse. So not only was I struggling with burnout, executive dysfunction, I was also struggling with chronic back pain where I couldn't be on my feet a whole lot. So I was dealing with both physical and mental illness problems, and every day going into work was just a nightmare. Physically, I couldn't handle it. Mentally, it would take me at least a half an hour to finally get up and start moving, or some kind of urgency. Like if I hear someone coming into the room, it will give me the anxiety to get up and make it look like I'm being productive. But they ended up having to let me go because of how bad my back was. But I never mentioned anything about my executive dysfunction. I just chalked it up as to being lazy and, I'm weak, I'm too sensitive, I'm always feeling sick, and I'm like, I'm just a weakling. What do you even say to that? And I took work off for 2 years. Um, and during those 2 years, even at home, I was struggling to do home tasks. Even showering is a struggle for me. Even today it is. Um, and it was getting worse. And I've been trying to get on disability during those 2 years. I'd get denied. Also, me keeping up with it is difficult because I'm ADHD. I forget, and keeping up with things is difficult. So I went back to work. A friend of mine convinced me to go work at a restaurant, and I was like, okay, I'll just kind of part time at 6 hours a day, maybe 4 days a week. I'll just do that. That should be good enough. And at first, it was a big time struggle. I did that for about a year, and my back gotten so bad that I couldn't even do 5 hours. And also my executive dysfunction, my burnout was worsening. It was hell, constant hell, and every time I got home I was resting. I never did much when I got home. I was always resting just so I can go on the next day. And I quit that job because they treated me like dirt. I got fired because I did something stupid. I'm impulsive, ADHD, but I was quitting anyways because my friend worked at a McDonald's, and he said they let you choose your hours, choose your days, and choose the time you want to come in. And they work with you if you have any injuries or, in that time I was like, yeah, I got my back, and they work with you. And I did. I went and got hired, and I tried doing the whole 6 hours a day again and 4 days a week, but I was being sent home almost every day or calling in almost all the time. I wasn't. So my boss said, let's bring you down to 4 hours a day and 3 days a week. And I was able to do that for a little while, and I did it. But even with that, I had to call in so many times because I just couldn't handle it most times. It's like I couldn't even mask anymore. And so, like, when talking to people, I was just for myself. And people thought I was weird or annoying and treated me different, of course, but they were kind to me, the people I worked with and bosses, because they always told me, if your back is doing bad or you're not doing good, do not come in, call in. Call in, because if you come here like that, then we'll have to send you home, then we got to find someone else. which, sometimes I wake up feeling kind of all right. I go in and can't handle it, burnout, but I usually blame to my back because what am I going to say? I'm too tired, I'm too exhausted, so yeah, so I did this for about a year, and it got to the point where my back couldn't even handle an hour, and my burnout had gotten so severe that I couldn't even handle public anymore. It was becoming all too much. I put a leave it because the last month I called in every day, and they understand. They're cool about it. But I decided to my mom convinced me to do a leave of absence, however much time I feel I need. So I did it. See, August. I did it for about 6 months, and when that 6 months came, I had to jump through so many hoops to try to get my back looked at, MRI, talk to a surgeon. 6 months didn't sum it up, and so they just told me that, okay, we'll just do a reapply. We'll let you go for now. Just reapply, and once you reapply, call me, and I'll get you right back into what you were doing. Get better, So they were great, but I couldn't do it. And finally, getting my back looked at and MRI, they said it was pretty bad, and the surgeon said it was unfixable. And that's when I'm like, okay, I have to go on disability. But I also knew that wasn't the only reason. I need disability because of my burnout, my ADHD, because I've learned about long-term autistic burnout. It can be years or a lifetime, and I've been in this for almost 7 years now, and it hasn't gotten better, and even taking the ADHD medication, it helps with a lot of the focus and stuff. It makes things a little easier, but I still really struggle. And yeah, so I spent the next few years trying disability. I did it slow, took forever because because it takes time, and also I was doing it myself. And of course, the last time I got denied. So currently, I'm wanting to find like a attorney or lawyer, someone that could help me do this. So I just suck at initiating to do that. But about a year ago, I knew there was something seriously wrong with me. So bad enough that I had asked my doctor that I need a brain scan. I was sure that I had brain damage. Like, I was like severely, like there's something seriously wrong with me. I had to jump through all these hoops and finally got a brain scan. And you can imagine my surprise when it came back normal. And I was like, then what the hell is wrong with me? A few months later, I came across watching ADHD videos. They were funny videos, like a lot of jokes and what ADHD people do. And I just thought they were funny. Kind of became what I liked watching. And when you watch reels, like a lot of certain things like ADHD content, it starts choosing what you watch, So everything was ADHD. I started learning more about it and started resonating with it. I was relating to it all, everything I was learning, and I decided to research it, also related to it. So I went to go get a diagnosis, and sure enough, I have a high score of severe ADHD. A high score of severe ADHD. And after that, I decided to just go on deep research and learn everything I can about it. And I spent months researching it. And you don't learn about ADHD without coming across autism. And I also related to all of that too. And everything I watch about it, learn about it, is resonating with me too. And so I got the ADHD diagnosis, but I am really struggling with the autism diagnosis. But during those times I was learning, I learned about long-term autistic burnout, everything I could about it, and it was just completely talking about me and what I'm going through, everything I'm going through, the struggle I'm going through, and it's very damaging. And that is exactly what I'm going through. My doctor believes I'm autistic. My therapist believes I'm autistic, and my family caught it before I even knew what autism was. So, yeah, and so fast forward 9 months later, I get diagnosed again. Same thing, high score of severe ADHD, and I finally get put on medications. I had to jump through a lot of hoops to do that too. And it really helps. It does help. It makes me feel a little better. But I still struggle with my energy, my doing anything. I still feel like shit, energy wise, mentally. But, that's my story. And, I'm pretty sure if I would have somehow caught this years later, maybe I could have treated it. Maybe I wouldn't be in long term damaging burnout right now, and ADHD diagnosis was easy for me to get. Like, I did it within a month. And autism, though, is so difficult. Like, I have to find somebody who take my insurance because I'm not working, and and I did find someone, but you have to be 21 years or younger for them to assess you and take my insurance. Even if I have my insurance, but I'm 32, they don't do that. I did find something online where you can get assessed online by Prosper Health, and they take insurance, but they don't take my insurance yet. And they say that they're working on it, that they will eventually, but I'd like to get this diagnosed and treated, because it's bad. It's really bad. I'm struggling a lot with it. But, I continue to search. My doctor and therapist continue to try to find somebody for me. It's not easy. It's like we're being set up to, or what, like they're deliberately trying not to help us. Deliberately. That's what it feels like, and it's ridiculous. I don't know, but that's what I wanted to come and talk about today. So, also, review on my ADHD medication. I took it today. It's been a few hours later, and it's quite the noise. I feel good. I like it. I like the ADHD meds. It helps calm me. And that's what I like. I'm able to relax a little better without the guilt or shaming about it. So yeah, but yeah, that's what I'm here to talk about. So see you in the next video.